At $1,000 right now. Text the keyword cash to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's cash to 200-200. This is the Ross Kaminsky Show. Now, Ross Kaminsky on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Well, good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. I think a little happier for us than for Brett Kavanaugh this morning. We have so much to talk about there that will probably be quite a bit of this show because so much has happened over the last 48 hours. By the way, producer Shannon tells me we're up on YouTube. Shannon, do you know the YouTube channel? We'll find it. I think it might be the real Rasputin. YouTube. We need to figure out what that is so we can tell people to go to exactly the right channel. Anyway, let's talk about what happened yesterday. And of course, I mean that Jasper's flag football team won 13-0 over the Seattle Seahawks of the National Flag Football League Littleton Division. Fourth graders and fifth graders. So congratulations to our team. I am the assistant coach. Best job ever. Our offense wasn't great. Our defense was spectacular. We shut them out. Some of our guys, including my kid, dropped some passes they probably should have caught. But it's okay because we won and we had a great weekend. And it was just so nice to step away from the computer and the TV and all this other stuff and just not think about anything else that was going on. Now, of course, at the time, it being Sunday, middle of the day, basically, when we went to play football, there didn't seem to be all that much new news about Kavanaugh or really anything else that I really needed to pay attention to. But there was big news last night. And the big news last night is that there is a second accuser against Brett Kavanaugh. Now, this came out, perhaps not surprisingly, in a piece in the New Yorker by Ronan Farrow and co-author Jane Meyer, who have written together in the past, taking down some of the Me Too movement, Harvey Weinstein, after NBC didn't want this story. One of the biggest mistakes NBC News has ever made, probably. They let this story go to the New Yorker, and it blew up into the entire Me Too movement. Now, the second story, I'll give you some details, and I think we may have Ronan Farrow talking about it on Fox News. But let me just share with you some of the detail of this second accusation, which is coming from a woman named Deborah Ramirez, who is a Boulder liberal. Check this out. So apparently somebody wanted to figure out how to get in touch with her. So they got in touch with Senator Michael Bennet from here in Colorado, right? The D.C. people knew that Ramirez was in Colorado, so they asked Michael Bennet, can you help us get in touch? Michael Bennet got in touch, or his office, got in touch with Stan Garnett, who was the former district attorney in Boulder. And he found this woman, Deborah Ramirez, and is representing her now. So there you go, kind of the liberal chain through all of this. The accusation is that, I'll just share with you some of the story from the New Yorker. The accusation was that there was some party in college, and they were, she says, quote, we were sitting in a circle. People would pick who drank. Ramirez was chosen repeatedly, quickly became inebriated. At one point, she said, a male student pointed a gag plastic penis in her direction. Later, she said she was on the floor foggy and slurring her words as that male student and another stood nearby. She identified these two guys to the reporter, but at her request, the New Yorker is not naming them. A third male student then exposed himself to her. Quote, I remember a penis being in front of my face. I know that's not what I wanted, even in that state of mind. She recalled remarking, quote, that's not a real penis. and other students laughing at her confusion and taunting her, one encouraging her to kiss it. She said she pushed the person away, touching it in the process. And she said, she was raised a devout Catholic. I wasn't going to touch one of those until I was married. I was embarrassed and ashamed and humiliated. She remembers Kavanaugh standing to her right and laughing, pulling up his pants. Brett was laughing. She said, I can still see his face and his hips coming forward like when you pull up your pants. She recalled another male student shouting about the incident. Somebody yelled down the hall, quote, Brett Kavanaugh just put his penis in Debbie's face. It was his full name. I don't think it was just Brett. And I remember hearing and being mortified that this was out there. Now, okay, so that's the accusatory part. Now let me give you the rest. And I do have to say, it's borderline whether, given the level of corroboration and credibility here, whether this article should ever have been published. But at least, and I mean this seriously, I'll give Ronan Farrow a little credit for publishing within the article reasons to disbelieve the article, which is far closer to fair to Judge Kavanaugh than the Washington Post has ever been throughout this mess with Christine Blasey Ford. So this is also from the New Yorker. She, meaning Ramirez, was at first hesitant to speak publicly, partly because her memories contained gaps, because she'd been drinking at the time of the alleged incident. In her initial conversations with the New Yorker, she was reluctant to characterize Kavanaugh's role in the alleged incident with certainty. All right? Okay, so in other words, she knows that she was so drunk at the time of whatever happened or didn't happen that she's not actually a credible witness of even what happened to her. But then, and I quote again from the New Yorker article, after 6 days of carefully assessing her memories and consulting with her attorney, Ramirez said that she felt confident enough of her recollections to say that she remembers. Unbelievable. As many people have said, neither this nor the Christine Blasey Ford accusation would ever be taken by any rational prosecutor into a court of law. This could never, ever be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I do completely recognize that we are dealing with the court of public opinion here, and that with a court of 100 jurors called U.S. senators, this is not a court of law. I get all that. The other thing that I note in the New Yorker article, the New Yorker has, and I'm quoting, has not confirmed with other eyewitnesses that Kavanaugh was present at the party. Now, that makes it sound like they haven't tried to confirm, but that's not what this means. I continue. They continue. The magazine contacted several dozen classmates of Ramirez and Kavanaugh regarding the incident. Many did not respond to interview requests. Others declined to comment or said they didn't attend or remember the party. A classmate of Ramirez's, who declined to be identified because of the partisan battle over the Kavanaugh nomination, said that another student told him about the incident either the night of the party or the next day or two. This one, quote, independently recalled many of the same details offered by Ramirez, including that a male student had encouraged Kavanaugh as he exposed himself. Goes on from there. Then they get into a whole bunch of other people who say they have no recollection of this. They would have heard about it if it had happened. They've got 3 people who say we were the people closest to Brett Kavanaugh during his first year at Yale. He was a roommate to some of us. We spent a great deal of time with him, including in the dorm where this incident allegedly took place. Some of us were also friends with Debbie Ramirez during and after her time at Yale. We can say with confidence that if the incident Debbie alleges ever occurred, we would have seen or heard about it, and we did not. The behavior she describes would be completely out of character for Brett. In addition, some of us knew Debbie long after Yale, and she never described this incident until Brett's Supreme Court nomination was pending. Editors from the New Yorker contacted some of us because we are the people who would know the truth, and we told them that we never saw or heard about this. The former friend who was married to the male classmate alleged to be involved and who signed the statement said of Ramirez, "This is a woman I was best friends with. We shared intimate details of our lives, and I was never told this story by her or anyone else. It never came up. I didn't see it. I never heard of it happening." So you've got now two accusations that are quite similar in the sense that, on the one hand, they both involve a young, drunk Brett Kavanaugh doing something he shouldn't do to a young woman who was around him at the time. And on the other side, they are both uncorroborated. Christine Blasey Ford, even every single person that so far that she has said was at the party, who I think is everyone she has said was at the party, has said they don't remember any such party. And this woman says, the second accuser says, that she was so drunk that at first she didn't even want to talk about it because she wasn't sure she could really remember what happened. And we're supposed to take this as enough evidence to destroy a guy's life. Not just destroy, let's make this clear. This is not about just destroying his chances of getting on the Supreme Court, although that's certainly the number one goal of the Democrat. They're looking to destroy his life. They would love to get this guy off of the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, too. This is some nasty stuff that's going on. And after the second accusation came out, Dianne Feinstein has now called for the Thursday hearing, which was scheduled on Saturday. This weekend, they came to an agreement between the Senate Judiciary Committee and the first accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, to have a hearing on Thursday. Now Dianne Feinstein is calling for a delay in that. They better not delay it, or Republicans will have political holy hell to pay from their supporters. Now, I want to take a moment here and go to Ronan Farrow, who was just speaking on Fox News about his article in the New Yorker about the second accuser. Let's see what he has to say.
She came forward because Senate Democrats began looking at this claim. She did not flag this for those Democrats. This came to the attention of people on the Hill independently, and it's really cornered her into an awkward position. That's why she took time to think about this carefully. You know, she said point blank, I don't want to ruin anyone's life, but she feels this is a serious claim. You know, she considers her own memories credible, and she felt it was important that she tell her story before others did without her consent.
Okay. Okay, so I think what Fox was doing was playing Ronan Farrow's appearance on another show this morning. That was on Good Morning America. Thank you, producer Shannon. And so we've got that audio clip. Actually, as long as we're doing that, let me share with you another audio clip. This is from our friend and our show's friend, Andy McCarthy, speaking on Fox News this morning. And
This is all about delay. It's basically about two things, Steve. It's about delaying this as long as they can. Notice that Senator Feinstein is the one today saying put off the hearing on Thursday. The whole idea is to take these allegations, which wouldn't even get into court. I want to say they'd be laughed out of court. They're so thin. In fact, you wouldn't even come into court with anything like this. But the idea is to say these are very serious allegations. They need to be investigated by the FBI to delay this. And the other very important thing here is the message is to every single conservative that if you try to crash our party, this is what we're going to do to you. Right now, as they see it, this is about the ideological bent of the Supreme Court, maybe for the next generation, and they are going to fight this tooth and nail to prevent Kavanaugh from being in that seat.
I completely agree. That's what's going on here. Now let's just talk politics for a second here. President Donald Trump was elected in large part because many Americans, whether or not you love Donald Trump on every policy issue, were sick and tired of Republicans constantly seeming to cave in to Democrats, to cave into political correctness, to not fight back against the liars in the mainstream media, including the Denver Post, about whom I have a lot more to say later this morning, following up on the Lang Sias thing, right? President Trump got elected because Republicans and even some non-leftist Democrats wanted a person who was going to fight back and what they perceived as fight for them. Okay? Now, I'm not going to make this any more about Donald Trump than that, except to point out that that is a main reason he was elected. Now, you bring that back to Republican politicians. Republicans are sick and tired of being pushed around, beaten up, and basically constantly losing to Democrats when it comes to individual fights. Even when we win the presidency, and I say we, I'm not a Republican, but I have voted for Republicans. I've never voted for a Democrat. And you know what ties into this so well for me is a piece that I saw on Politico that was posted just late last night. And the difference between Republicans and Democrats, and why, if Republicans don't fight back incredibly hard on this Brett Kavanaugh thing and get Jeff Flake in line and Susan Collins, which is going to be very difficult to do because there's almost no pressure you can put on those two people that would make any difference. But you recall Michelle Obama's statement a couple years ago when she said, "When they go low, we go high." You remember that? When she did that at the Democratic National Convention or something. I forget. When they go low, we go high. Well, they've got a quote in Politico by a guy named Sean Clegg, a longtime Democratic strategist in California, and he put it this way. You ready, Shannon? When they go low, we kick them in the nuts. And Republicans want their people to start playing the game that way. And I'm not a Republican, but I don't blame them one bit. I want them to start playing the game that way, too. I'll tell you what I want to do when we come back. I want to share with you a pair of tweets from Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley on Friday that is exactly the opposite of that.
This report sponsored by NBC.
Highways are getting busier this morning and backups traveling across Aurora. It's a crash on the highway. Nissan Intelligent Mobility can reroute you around the backups. The accident northbound 225 just before Colfax was sitting in the left lane. Left shoulder is blocked off. Northbound 225 just before Colfax jammed up there from Mississippi. That's about a 10-minute delay for you. And delays leaving DIA. Construction outbound Pena at Jackson Gap. Then forecast cooler temperatures this week.